All right, what's up, students? I'm going to be talking to you about the Middle Republic today. So, we're going to be talking about the transition that Rome is undertaking in the Middle and Late Republic as they move from Republic to Empire. And we'll talk about this a little bit more in a couple more lectures I'll put out. Now, the title of this lecture is The Middle Republic, Carthage, and the Punic Wars, 264 to 133 BCE. And those are the dates of the Middle Republic, that 264 to 133. By 265 BCE, Rome was ruler over all of Italy, and things began to change rapidly as Romans began to look beyond Italy. The Roman Republic at its height spans 3 continents. This lecture will discuss how some of the following territories were acquired by Rome during the Middle Republic, and then some we will go into in the Late Republic. North Africa, Western Europe, parts of Asia, the Middle East, Britain will all be territorial acquisitions made by Rome as they grow into this empire. Okay, so this is sort of a two-sided approach here. Is it's this growth of Rome into an empire once they start expanding outwards, which happens in the Middle Republic, and then the events of the Middle Republic, which lead to the massive growth of Rome. If you notice, the Late Republic is a lot shorter time period, 133 to 31 BCE. Now, the two great powers in the central Mediterranean world at this time are Rome and Carthage. Okay, Carthaginians are an economic powerhouse. Carthage stretched along the northeastern coast of Africa, from modern-day Tunisia through the Straits of Gibraltar into modern Spain. Carthage is a vital port city at the northeastern tip of Africa and is founded as a Phoenician colony around the same time as Rome, somewhere between 750 and 800 BCE. Now, Carthage had the largest and most effective navy in the world at the time and commanded also a great war fleet. Its merchant ships dominated trade in the Western Mediterranean. They played a major role and had inroads in trade routes with the East as well. So they weren't just a dominant power in the Western Mediterranean, but they also had a strong presence in the East. Their trade networks reached from Britain all the way to Egypt. Carthage was superior to Rome in almost every aspect. Okay. Now, Carthage's navy is unrivaled, but they had no standing army and they had to rely on hiring mercenaries, which they bankrolled with their substantial profits from trade. The Carthaginians controlled an empire in North Africa, Sicily, Corsica, Sardinia, Malta, the Balearic Islands, and southern Spain. The Punic Wars between Carthage and Rome are going to last 100 total years, okay? Over 100 years, rather, 120. The Romans called their enemies the Phoenicians of Carthage, okay, or Poeni, Poeni, or Punics. Much like their counterparts, the Romans, the Carthaginians were guided by wealthy elites in their society. Carthage is more mercantile, whereas at this time, Rome is more agrarian. And Carthage is definitely a sea power, while Rome doesn't really have a navy, it's more of a land power. So this is an interesting matchup. Now, the Carthaginians are exploiting the mineral-rich mines of Spain. They were the first Mediterranean people to organize large-scale plantations of slaves for production of single crops. And while Carthage did not have a citizen army like Rome, they did boast brilliant commanders and generals, especially from the Barca family. Okay, so I'm going to make mention of some commanders that will serve throughout the Punic Wars from the Barca family. Hamilkar Barca, His dates are 275 through 228 BCE, and he is commander of ground forces in Sicily during the later stages of the First Punic War. He led guerrilla activities against the Romans in Sicily. Hannibal Barca, son of Hamilkar, his dates are 274 to 183 BCE. He is commander of Carthage's main army against the Romans in the Second Punic War. He's considered one of the greatest military commanders and tacticians in the history of the world. He invades Rome by land. We'll go more into this in a moment. Hasdrubal Barca. He is also the son of Hamilkar, younger brother of Hannibal. He's also a Carthaginian commander during the Second Punic War. While the commanders were Carthaginian, again, most of Carthage's soldiers were mercenaries and had questionable loyalty. Carthage didn't really show any love and often showed contempt for its troops, and they often revolted. Carthage is never able to field an army as large as Rome's either. The start of the Punic Wars, Rome had no navy or commanders to match the Barca family, but over time proved adaptable, tenacious, and ruthless in the Punic Wars. Now, Punic Wars will last from 264 to 146 BCE. Punic Wars will refer to the three periods of warfare. So it's three separate periods of conflict between Rome and Carthage, and how these two empires struggled for dominance in the Western Mediterranean. Okay, so the Punic Wars. Let's start talking about the First Punic Wars. The First Punic War, rather, going to kind of go into each one independently for a couple of minutes. Okay, the First Punic War, 264 to 241 BCE. Overview: in this conflict, the Romans defeat Carthage in competition for Mediterranean dominance. So that's one for Rome. Okay, the First Punic War begins in 264. And lasts for 23 years, and it sees a lot of brutal and bitter fighting. Rome and Carthage are both called into Sicily to settle an issue there that's going on with pirates. The war becomes protracted because after Carthage suffered a single defeat on land, they resolved to engaging the Romans at sea or through guerrilla fighting tactics. Carthage had a long-standing naval tradition. Rome did not. They had started to build one, however, in 241 BCE. And this is an excellent example of Rome being adaptable and borrowing from other cultures. The Romans, what they did is they reverse engineered the Carthaginian fleet from wrecked ships they had recovered. Carthage eventually is able to force secession of its Sicilian lands to Rome and to pay reparations to Rome for their activity in the First Punic War. This meant that Sicily was now Rome's first overseas province. Shortly thereafter, Rome seized the islands of Sardinia and Corsica. And Carthage is very upset about losing these islands and Sicily. And Rome is determined to not allow Carthage to regain its maritime power. So Carthage begins, however, to build a bigger empire in Spain in 237, rather, and this is seen as a threat to Roman power in the region. Rome challenges this power in Spain, and this is when we see tactical genius Hannibal Barca as the commander of the Carthaginians in the Second Punic War during this time. Okay. Now, he is sort of overseeing operations by the Carthaginians in Spain before the Second Punic War. Carthage is in Spain mining for silver and copper to pay reparations to Rome for the from the First Punic War. Now, leaders in the Senate saw Carthaginian efforts in Spain and their expansion there as a threat to Roman interest in the region, and they declared a new war, which would last 16 years. This is the Second Punic War from 218 to 201 BCE. Romans here get thrown off guard. They're caught by surprise by a Carthaginian army led by Hannibal and are nearly defeated on their own soil. Rome had a better commander emerge during the Second Punic War. This is Publius Cornelius Scipio Africanus, Roman general, regarded as one of the greatest military commanders, strategists, and tacticians in world history. Scipio would later become consul 2 different times in 205 and 194 BCE. So Hannibal promises a quick victory going into the Second Punic War. He raises an army in Spain, heavily manned by cavalry to counter the superior infantry of the Roman legion. Hannibal sacked the Roman allied Saguntum in Spain, and Rome officially declares war. Hannibal also in this conflict, one thing he does is he enlists the use of dozens of war elephants, which terrified the Romans. Many of these elephants do die along the journey to Rome as Hannibal crosses the Pyrenees into Gaul, now southern France, and then over the Alps into Italy, and fought the Romans there on their own soil for 16 years. Hannibal began his overland march with 40,000 soldiers and 37 war elephants, as well as siege equipment for his planned invasion of the Italian peninsula. Hannibal's forces dominate the battlefields in Italy. Hannibal uses hit-and-run tactics early on in northern Italy. They set fire to farms up and down the peninsula. One infamous battle, a supply depot in southeastern Italy in 216 BC, the Battle of Cannae. This is when Carthage gives Rome its bloodiest defeat in its history, killing as many as 50,000 Romans at a supply depot. Carthaginians advanced in a U shape with 40,000 infantry and 10,000 cavalry. Rome's army was twice the size, but they lured the Romans into this U-shaped trap, enveloped the Roman army, and there was an absolute slaughter. Rome had 80,000 men in the army, and almost all were killed or captured. The Carthaginians only started taking prisoners because they were tired of swinging their swords. In 211 BCE, in the Second Punic War, both Scipio's father, Publius Scipio, and uncle, Gnaeus Cornelius Scipio Calvus, were both killed in Spain fighting Hannibal's brother, Hasdrubal. Later on, throughout the Second Punic War in 205 BCE is when Scipio becomes consul of Rome. Now, after Cannae, Rome changed their strategy and began fighting through harassment, delay. They delay to fight or refuse to fight the Carthaginians. And Hannibal is frustrated by this. He doesn't know how to defeat the Romans. He can't invade and sack the city of Rome. And over time, it becomes more difficult for him to supply his army, and he's not receiving reinforcements from Carthage. He eventually retreats, technically undefeated, in 202 BCE. So over time, Publius Cornelius Scipio begins to understand Hannibal's tactics and even matches them. Scipio began campaigning in Spain against Hasdrubal. In 202 BCE, after a string of victories over Carthaginian strongholds, he crosses into Africa and met Hannibal in the field near Carthage. Scipio wins a final battle over the Carthaginians near Zama, bringing an end to the Second Punic War. This victory wins him the nickname Africanus, or the African. Hannibal ended his days in exile from Carthage, fighting as a mercenary commander in unsuccessful wars against Rome. A peace settlement in 201 BCE stripped Carthage of its empire. Carthage was compelled to abandon all of its possessions except the city of Carthage itself, and also pay compensation 3 times larger than the reparations Rome demanded after the First Punic War. Roman suspicion of Carthage never ends, and warmongers in the Senate read every sign of Carthage rebounding their economy as a threat. Roman fears of Carthage and their re-emerging political ambitions, their re-emerging economy are not taken lightly by Rome. So some stats here, and then some cause and effect in relation to the Second Punic War. The Second Punic War saw the deaths of approximately 500,000 Romans, 300,000 of which were killed in action, as well as 400 Roman towns destroyed. 270,000 Carthaginians are killed. Rome also engaged in a prolonged conflict with Greece and Anatolia. The king of Macedon, Philip V, his dates are 221 through 179 BCE, had made an alliance with Hannibal after Carthaginian success at the Battle of Cannae. Okay, so Roman legion is going to repay that debt and win an easy victory over the Macedonian phalanx in central Greece. The independent Greeks, however, even after this, refused to submit to the patron-client relationship and Roman domination, and we see prolonged and renewed wars between Greeks and Romans moving forward into the Third Punic War and beyond. Now, the Third Punic War, this sees Romans lay siege to, defeat, and raze the city of Carthage to the ground. By the middle of the 2nd century, a Roman faction within the Senate is urging preemptive strikes against Carthage. An elderly patrician senator, Marcus Cato, Cato the Elder, ended every speech he gave, no matter the topic, with the words, "And furthermore, I strongly advise that Carthage be destroyed." This gives him the nickname also Cato the Censor. In 149 BCE, Rome declared that Carthaginians should abandon their city and settle at least 10 miles from the coast, where they would have no access to the sea. And this would, kill their economy. This was a death sentence to Carthage if they're to do this, because they're a city dependent on commerce, and the Carthaginians refused to relocate, and that is the cause of the Third Punic War. In this conflict, Rome mounts a 3-year siege under leadership of Scipio Maelianus and destroyed the city of Carthage in 146 BCE, breaching the walls and butchering the population that was inside. Those who survived the massacre were sold into slavery. The city was systematically burned for 17 days. Remaining Carthaginian territories become the Roman province of Africa following the Third Punic War. The renewed conflicts against Macedon and various Greek states from 171 to 168 BCE, and again from 150 to 146 BCE, and Rome emerges victorious both times here. 146 BCE, Rome also wipes out Corinth, destroys Corinth, making it a Roman province. And anywhere democracy survived in Greece was replaced by oligarchy. Rome's victories over Carthage led to the creation of new colonial provinces in Sicily, North Africa, and Spain. And Rome emerged from the Punic Wars as the greatest power in the Mediterranean world. Rome now had provinces in Sicily, Sardinia, Corsica, Spain, and North Africa. A century after the Third Punic War, Carthage is resurrected as a Roman colony and becomes one of the empire's greatest cities. Before the end of the century, southern Gaul was annexed, and Rome gained a foothold also in Asia. The kingdom of Pergamum in northwestern Anatolia had supported Rome throughout its wars in the east. When King Attalus III of Pergamum died without an heir in 133 BCE, he left his kingdom to the Roman people, who made it into the province of Asia. Rome granted citizenship rights to cultures that it conquered after some conflicts, gradually laying the foundation for the future empire. The last 2 centuries in Rome witnessed a transformation of Roman rural society from one of independent farmers to one in which slave labor begins to play a major role. By the end of the 1st century BCE, Italy's slave population was estimated at 2 million, about a third of the entire population of the Italian peninsula. Prisoners of war, conquered civilians were often the supply chain that slaves came from, right? If Romans conquered Carthage, you've got some prisoners of war who are going to be sold into slavery, right? Most worked in agriculture and mining, and their treatment was not very favorable. Cheap grain and an influx of unpaid slave labor bankrupted many farmers. The rich grew richer, however, and bought land from these ruined peasants. A displaced farmer who wanted to compete in the labor market would have found it difficult to underbid cheap slave labor. And following the Punic Wars, Roman provincial administration began to take hold as Rome took control of newly acquired territories as well as subject provinces. During this time, Ptolemaic Egypt had become a pawn, so to speak, of Roman commercial and political interest. Also, the Seleucid kingdom in Syria is pretty much a Roman pawn also, but they both technically do remain independent at this time. So following the Punic Wars, Rome has grown immensely. Let's talk about the breakdown of territorial acquisition here. Okay, so Rome acquires Sicily in 241 BCE, Sardinia and Corsica in 238 BCE, 2 different provinces in Spain in 197 BCE, Macedonia and Africa are annexed in 146 BCE. Also, you have Cisalpine Gaul or Cisalpina in northernmost Italy or southern France, in the province of Asia in northeastern Anatolia in 133 BCE that we mentioned. Now, the rapid increase in the Rome's territories opened up new opportunities, but also presents new challenges, which will come up during our study and discussion of the Late Republic, which is the dates for the Late Republic are 133 to 31 BCE, and this will give rise to the empire through the collapse of the Roman Republic. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.